We all know that if you're running a business or starting a business, it all starts with a good night's sleep. I am thrilled today to be joined by Luke Mickelson, founder of Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Luke, I am so excited to have you on this episode of Coffee with Bill. Welcome.
Oh, sir, thank you. This is great. I'm excited to be here.
I can't wait to dig in. You have been on a journey since 2012.
Yeah.
You have been delivering against this mission. Take us back to the beginning. How did it all get started?
Yeah, again, thanks for having me and be able to share our story, our mission with your audience. First of all, I tell everybody I'm a farm kid from Idaho. I think that's important to know right from the very beginning, because what you hear, not see, but what you hear is what you're going to get. So, I lived in a small town in Twin Falls, Idaho, actually Kimberly, Idaho, for those that might know where that's at. But, my little town, right? You played a lot of sports and that's what I grew up doing a lot of sports. Later in life, I coached a lot. And where I go with that is I learned to enjoy competition. And I think that was kind of the backbone of how Sleeping Up the Peace started. It was certainly the backbone to my entrepreneur-minded and goal setting that I had. Right then, I said, okay, here's a great opportunity, Sarah, to get these teenage kids out from behind a screen, get an Xbox controller out of their hands. Let's put a drill and a sander and let's teach them something. And man, it was such a neat experience. I was really nervous that these boys were not going to be as excited as I was. And the fact that we weren't either playing a sport or doing something in front of a screen, they'd be bored as heck. But the cool thing is, Sarah, is I saw joy in their eyes and in their smiles at doing something. I know it was because they were doing something for a family, kids that were in need, kids that were their age.
And now we fast forward, and you've built and delivered over 250,000 beds.
Yeah.
Which is clearly you figured out something right operationally. There's a lot of folks who are listening, who are businesses or nonprofits like you who are looking to scale. Maybe can you talk a little bit about some key decisions you made along the way that really enabled you to scale?
100%. I tell people all the time, well, first of all, I get the question, how did you get to where you're at right now? And my first question or my first answer always was, man, I don't know, like luck, But really was I talked to other business owners and other entrepreneurs, especially other nonprofits and people that want to start a nonprofit. I listened to their stories. I listened to some of the things that they're working and they're struggling with. And I thought, you know what? There's some things that we're doing right. There's some things that we learned. This wasn't going to be a nonprofit. This was just a family service project at Christmas time, which turned into, once I realized that child bedlessness, not a real word, but a real problem, was actually as big as it is, over 3% of the population. We had to do something, And so, but the first thing I learned is I need to approach this as a business, right? I don't know any other way. And so I counsel in my nonprofit counseling company that the first thing you need to realize is you're going to run a business. You're not running what people think or have stipulations about what a nonprofit is. No, you're running a business. You have overhead, you have employees, you have, money that you got to make, you have rainy day funds, things of that nature. So I think it's important. And the biggest decision I made was looking at this as a business to grow.
And such good advice. You clearly started with a passion and a mission, but you had to turn it into a business to be able to scale. One of the things that I know a lot of business owners and nonprofit folks for sure struggle with is prioritization. How do you think about how you've been able to prioritize successfully, and any advice you have?
Absolutely. And that's key. You spend too much time on the wrong emphasis or the wrong syllable on something, or let's be real, the wrong project or the wrong direction. You're just wasting your time. And those can be detrimental. And you understand, I grew up, I was 23 years old when I got hired onto my first career business and I was there for 20 years. I learned a lot. One thing I didn't understand is why this owner wouldn't venture out and try these new things. He always wanted to stay with the business at hand. And I'm being as entrepreneur as I am, wanting to try all these other things. Well, That's mission creep. And in a nonprofit world, you have a mission. We build and deliver beds for kids. We don't provide books and desks and other services because, number one, I still had a full-time job doing this nonprofit business, I didn't have time for it, which these are one of the happy accidents that happened with Sleep and Emily Peace because it made me stay focused on what we were successful at. And we determined, you know what, we're gonna build and deliver beds. That's all we're gonna do, and we're gonna be the best at it. And now we're the largest in the world.
Luke, one of the things that often happens within the trajectory of a business is sometimes you have to shift strategy a little bit. Same mission, but maybe you have to adjust your strategy a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about if you've had any of those moments and how did you know, you're smiling because you have, how did you know it was time that you needed to make a shift?
Sometimes they're forced upon us.
True.
And actually those become some of the most difficult ones, right? In Sleep and Emily Peace, as we've grown from this small little community to now 4 different countries, there's a lot of shift in strategy and strategy / priority / need, right? I have stepped away from being an executive director and taken a different role, which is huge. Any of these founders and entrepreneurs, business owners, man, that is not an easy step to do to, unleash some of your decision making and power to someone else and trust in them. But you have always seen, and I told my team, it's the potholes ahead that we're about to hit or that are developing down the road that we need to fill. And recognizing those potholes helps you prioritize, helps you strategize. So when we went from 7 chapters, from 2012 to 2018, we went to 7 chapters. At the end of 2018, we had 125. That's how fast we grew.
Luke, you mentioned that Bill played a small role in helping to, help Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Can you share a little bit with our listeners about that story?
I would love to. And number one, it's not a small role. I tell you, think about it for a minute. When we started Sleep in Heavenly Peace, I didn't want to be a nonprofit that was just, everybody donated to one entity. It went to the pie in the sky. You had no idea where your money went, blah, blah, blah. I said, look, this is a community problem. So we want the community to donate to their chapter locally. And it still does that. People donate money and it goes to their chapter. But when you get to 200 plus chapters and you have 200 bank accounts, to try to keep track of 200 bank accounts was a nightmare. So all of a sudden, here we are, 200 chapters. There was $250,000 that no one could have access to. It was a lot of sleepless nights, let me tell you that. And even worse, the banks couldn't even access it. So we were stuck. And I remember I happened to be scrolling through Facebook, and all of a sudden, here's this company, Bill. And as I read into it, and I had the ability to have, virtual cards and cards that we could give to as many people as we need to, and I could load them with funds whenever I wanted to. But the biggest thing is it gave us control and helped our chapters who had multiple people within their chapters buying things to pull them together to be able to expense properly. Finances, which is normally the biggest headache for nonprofits, is one of the easiest things we do in Sleep in Heavenly Peace, mostly because Bill and the process that you guys have is just incredible, especially for those businesses that have multiple areas and multiple buyers within those areas like we do. I think we have around 1,000 cards out, if I'm not mistaken, between real and virtual cards. And that would be a complete nightmare if we didn't have Bill and their unique and impressive and easy to use process of spending. And so it's not a small thing Bill did for us. So thanks for asking.
Luke, I love to hear it. And, we get so inspired when we can hear about the impact that we're having on people's businesses. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, my pleasure.
And if you've inspired folks, I know you've inspired me. If you've inspired folks and they want to learn more or donate, where should they go?
Absolutely. shpbeds.org, Sleep in Heavenly Peace. So shpbeds.org is our website. And when you click on that website, the page of the closest chapter is going to come up, right? So you can find out what's happening in your local community, because this is a local and a community problem. This is not solved by a big national organization. I don't even like to really use those words, because this is solved at a community level. Find a chapter near you. Extend a volunteer hand to them. It'll change your life. I mean, you can see a build, you can see a child getting a bed, you can watch a video on it, you can hear testimonials. But until you stand, like for me, my first bed I delivered was with Haley. I walked into Haley, 6-year-old girl, never slept on a bed. She slept in the backseat of her mom's car. They finally got a house. When I walked into her room, first room she ever had, there was a pile of clothes in the corner, and that's what she slept on. And right then, Sarah, I said, no kid's going to sleep on the floor in my little town. And I just want my little town to be everybody's little town. And we can do that together. So reach out to your local chapter. If you don't have a chapter, start one, right? A lot of great people, they either have full-time jobs or retired and are looking for ways to give back. We make this process simple and easy to start and be successful in a local chapter, and helping kids out locally. So that's my plead to your audience, to help this pandemic called child medicines.
Luke, thank you so much for inspiring us, for sharing your passion with us. Thank you for being a Bill customer. We appreciate you and all you do. I know I, for one, but everybody who's listening is going to be cheering on the success of your organization, and making sure, that other little kids like Haley have a great place to sleep.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do at Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And thank you, Luke, for your time.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.